Hello, folks. This is Brian Veary. I'm with you through until 4 o'clock. How about this?
Hey, shut up, boy.
Yeah, Bart. You're supposed to be developing verbal abilities for your big aptitude test tomorrow. I don't care what that stupid test says, Bart. You're a dimwit.
Maybe so, but from now on, this dimwit is on easy street.
Dad!
Shut up, you little monsters!
The Simpsons are the outrageous animated television family who have taken the world by storm, absolutely. The series has been acclaimed by critics and fans alike as one of television's truest and most hilarious portraits of American family life. I must find out more of that. Phrases from the series have become part of everyday language, and thousands of episodes later, the series is still enjoying enormous popularity. The thing that springs to mind with me is, eat my shorts, and really, I mean, it did help you out of many a situation. Yeardley Smith is the voice of Lisa Simpson in the hit series, and she joins me in the studio this afternoon. Hi, Yeardley, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. It's so lovely to be here.
Lovely to see you. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Happy birthday to you. Gosh, 12 years old and it's your birthday.
I know, can you believe it?
I can't believe it. Who'd have thought you'd have made the dozen?
And I can drive.
You're a very clever girl. You did it so well, didn't you? The series, The Simpsons, it really did take the world by storm, didn't it?
Yes, it did, and certainly totally unexpectedly. When we started recording the half-hour episodes, everybody said, it'll never fly. What are you doing? This is ridiculous. The last cartoon to succeed on primetime was the Flintstones, and then it hit big. There was nothing gradual about it. It was enormous right off the bat, and everybody said, oh, yeah, we knew it all along.
Oh, yeah, well, that's part of the course,
it really does happen that way. They come out of the woodwork.
The girl that you play must have been, she dived in the different gene pool. I mean, looking at the mother and father and Bart, she is definitely, how come she's clever?
Actually, what's interesting is that when we first started doing the short bits on the Tracy Ullman show, Lisa had virtually no personality except to exist as a foil for Bart. She was just kind of the whiny, pestering little sister. And when we went to half-hour episodes, James Brooks, who's he's the executive producer, decided he wanted her to be a prodigy and he wanted her to play the saxophone. So that was a calculated decision on their part, and I think it's a wonderful device to point up how, I wouldn't say the dysfunction of the family, but how you can have such different elements in a family that is actually so close.
Yes.
You know, I mean, they're not tragically dysfunctional like an alcoholic family or anything. And it is life. I mean, the bottom line is they all love each other to death and they lie down and die for each other. And it's interesting, I think, to see how they kind of, how to just get through the day.
Yes.
You know, how many of us don't wonder that every single time we wake up, think, okay.
But Homer is a dork.
He seems to be getting dorkier, I will say.
Oy vey, why?
I don't know, actually. I think...
Is Bart getting any better? That's the thing I've got to worry about now.
No, I think Bart seems to be on a fairly even keel. I think he's irredeemable in that department.
It must be amazing for you as an accomplished actress to be doing this. I mean, with animation and doing the voices, it's a wonderful challenge, obviously, is it?
Actually, it's probably one of the easiest jobs I've ever done. It's I've always felt a great affinity with Lisa Simpson, and so it wasn't ever a stretch like that. And at this point, we've been doing the series, if you count the Tracy Ullman show, for 9 years.
Right.
And you hand me a page of Simpsons dialogue, and everybody just drops into it. It's no problem. And what's really fascinating is to watch the people who do multiple voices.
Oh,
aren't they Dan, who does Homer and Grandpa and Barney, and he'll have pages of dialogue just with himself, and he just goes from one to the other. I mean, it's remarkable.
No, that's what I call
it's
clever.
Really great, yeah.
Yeah, indeed. The people that you've had as guest artists too, I mean, you've had everyone come through there.
Yeah, we pretty much have. I was actually just in New York recording with Glenn Close.
Oh, what is she like? Tell me.
Oh, she's lovely. I did a play with her on Broadway about 100 years ago when I was first starting out.
2.
It was The Real Thing, which I think actually is playing here.
Yes.
Yeah, you have a local theatre company doing it, and it was Glenn Close and Jeremy Irons starring on Broadway, and so I did I did know her, and when we saw her in New York, she was just lovely, and I sort of don't expect anything from anyone. I thought, okay, if she doesn't remember me, no big deal. The woman was on stage the entire time. I don't expect her to retain every single person that she's ever met, and she just said, Yeardley, how lovely to see you. And I thought,
that's nice,
wow.
isn't it?
Yeah. But
I
most
heard
of the
some
time,
nice
actually,
things about her.
she is so nice.
Sure.
But we don't always get to meet the people who come on our show.
Well, of course not. No, doing the voices.
Because their schedules don't permit.
Oh, Dolly Parton's been on the show.
Well, and half the time we actually don't know who they got, so we'll watch the show 8 months down the road and go, hey, that's really cool, look at that. I didn't know they'd gotten Sting. I thought, gee, that's pretty good.
Why wasn't I there that day?
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, other roles during this time, you must have, you'd have to do something else. You'd go crazy, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's it's a wonderful show, and I'm very proud to be a part of it. But if you're a workaholic, as am I, for instance, was never happier than doing Herman's Head and The Simpsons at the same time. I had no life, no time for anything else, and I was in pig heaven. It was great.
Sure. What do your family think about all of this?
Oh, actually, they've always been really wonderfully supportive. I think at first, when I graduated from high school, I did not get into college. So I think they all went,
oh, thank God she's an actress.
No. And I thought, well, all right, I guess it's time to embark on this brilliant career that I've had in mind, and did so, and was very, very lucky right off the bat. Got a show in Washington, D.C., where I'm from, and got these brilliant reviews, and one thing led to another. But all through that year, my mother kept saying, don't you want to reapply, just in case things don't go the way you think they might go.
Sure.
And, of course, I said no, and not really ever loving school, and so it was only sort of in that sort of ambivalent period for a moment there that they thought,
But Mum's right.
No, absolutely right. Are you kidding? My story is so atypical. When people say to me, how do you get into the business? I always say I'm the last person you should ask, because
the breaks were there and you
exactly. It was sort of timing, and had it not worked out that way, I honestly don't know what I would have done. I'm not a very patient person, so I don't know how I would have.
That goes for the territory.
There you go.
Sure. I was just going to ask you, doing Broadway with Glenn Close, Jeremy Irons, this is a great thing to have in your credits, isn't it?
Yeah, it was wonderful, and it was a huge break for me because Mike Nichols directed that show.
Oh.
It doesn't get any better than that.
No, you're a lucky kid.
And I was the understudy in that show. To play the daughter, and then Mike Nichols took the girl whose name was Cynthia Nixon out to do the new, I think it was David Rabe, did a play called Hurly Burly, and so yanked her out of the real thing to go do Hurly Burly, and I'm thinking, well, of course I'll step in, I'm the understudy, and it's actually quite fortunate that I did, but I later found out that often on Broadway, if they find an understudy that they like who's reliable, they keep them as an understudy, which is brutal, which is awful,
doesn't
isn't
that
it?
kill? That's not
it's
right.
Just so mean. And
Yeah.
if I had known that, can you imagine?
Sure.
I just would have been basket case, which I was anyway.
Sure, don't be a good all-rounder. It's not worthwhile. It's all those specialists who go on and do everything.
Exactly.
Yeah. Herman's Head must have been fun.
Oh, it was great fun. It took us actually about a season to kind of get the hang of it.
Yeah, it's different,
It
isn't
really is. It is different, but I think because there's a lag when we would tape the show, which we would tape live in front of an audience, in order to cut to the head, as we used to say, so you could see the thoughts in his head and that whole conflict, there would be about a 30-second lag while they got the cameras over there. And it kind of interrupted the continuity, and I think the writers were thinking, okay, well, in a way, the parameters were very narrow, because everything had to revolve around Herman, and everything had to be from his point of view.
Sure.
So even when you had episodes that focused on other characters, it had to be from Herman's point of view. So I think in the second year they kind of went, oh, I get it. And they really let the people in the head branch out and do all sorts of wonderful things, as opposed to playing, it's hard enough to play one emotion, to play lust or sensitivity or genius or whatever, wimp. Those were the 4 ones.
Yes.
And
once you can fake sincerity, you've got it made.
Don't you think?
Yeah, got to go.
So, but we had a wonderful following. It wasn't,
did.
reflected in the numbers, but...
But we're seeing, I think you've got to have people who are courageous enough to break new ground.
I agree.
We've seen everything, and you've got to say sometimes, even if people say, I've never watched that.
Right?
But at least it's something, isn't it?
I think it's important that it just be out there. And the ironic thing is that even when somebody does break new ground, the trend is to imitate that thing, as opposed to finding something else to break new ground. You know,
sure.
It's so odd.
If I see another hospital series, I
Don't
think
you
I'll get sick.
Yeah, exactly.
Now I see what they've done to us all. I'm never going to hospital again.
Right.
And you've only been in Australia a minute and they've made you work so hard. I just think it's not fair to you. And you're very gracious.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
And I'm sure that Lisa will be there with you even after the series has
Yes.
passed away. She's a character.
She's a part of my heart, that's for sure.
Now, if you see Bart, just give him a slap about the
I
ears for
certainly
me.
will.
And that's speaking as a father.
Thanks
but Lisa,
ever
you've
so
put
much.
up with him so much, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
Yes. Is there any one particular thing about that little slob that is redeemable?
He's so no regrets. You know, he has no remorse.
No.
He does things and he just does them.
Yes.
You know, and
And he
you
just-
and you want to shake him and say, "What are you doing? How could you?"
Oh, do it again and do it a lot to
You
him.
know?
And who does your mother's hair?
Do you know what's funny about that? Marge's hair came about because it was Matt Groening's point of view of his mother's hair when he was a small boy. So he used to look up at her, you know, from being a tiny tot, and this is what he saw, this tower of hair. I think that's a lovely story.
Well, I hope you have a beautiful birthday.
Oh, thank you. It's already been really wonderful.
And I'm delighted that you've come to see us.
So kind of you to have me.
You're welcome. And ladies and gentlemen, a true delight, I must say. I meet so many people in my everyday work that this one has just been a shot in the arm.
Oh, thank you.
Yeardley, bye-bye.
Bye.
God love you.